Most gardeners hang up their trowel in June, convinced that the window for planting has already closed, and the only thing left to do is water and wait. That belief quietly steals months of potential blooms from gardens across the country every single year. The truth is that June is still very much part of the garden planting season, and there are cut flowers you can put in the ground right now that will fill your vases by August. So tell me this before we go any further. Have you ever written off summer planting because you thought it was simply too late? Drop a yes or no in the comments and be honest, because the answer is going to change how you see June forever. Welcome back to Grow Simple, where we take the guesswork out of growing beautiful things. Today, we are walking through 7 cut flowers you can still plant in June and harvest this summer. And the very first one on this list is so fast that seeds you sow this weekend will be blooming before your kids head back to school. Flower number 1, Zinnias. If you plant nothing else this month, plant zinnias. They are quite simply one of the fastest and most rewarding summer flowers you can grow, and June is still well within their planting window across virtually every growing zone in the United States. Zinnias can be direct sown right into garden soil, no indoor seed starting required, and they will germinate in 5 to 7 days when the soil is warm. From that moment, they grow with a kind of urgency that few other flowers match. Most varieties begin blooming 60 to 70 days after planting, which means seeds sown in early June are producing armloads of stems by the 2nd or 3rd week of August. The real magic of zinnias as cut flowers is that cutting them actually makes them produce more. When you snip a stem just above a set of leaves, the plant responds by sending up 2 new flowering stems from that node. The more you cut, the more you get, all the way until the first hard frost. For garden planting purposes, zinnias want full sun and soil that drains well. They do not need rich, amended soil. In fact, overly fertilized soil produces more leaves than blooms. Space them about 9 inches apart for cutting varieties like Benary's Giant or Oklahoma Mix. Give them consistent water at the soil level rather than overhead, because wet foliage invites powdery mildew late in the season. If you start a small patch now and cut regularly, you will have fresh bouquets every week from August through October. Flower number 2, sunflowers. Most people think of sunflowers as something you plant in April or May, but branching varieties in particular are perfectly suited to June planting and will deliver blooms by late summer. The key is choosing the right type. Single-stem sunflowers like Pro-Cut or Sun-Rich series grow one tall stalk with one large flower at the top, and they mature in 55 to 65 days. Branching varieties like Autumn Beauty, Lemon Queen, or the Teddy Bear dwarf types produce multiple blooms per plant over several weeks, which makes them far better for cutting. Direct sow sunflower seeds right where you want them to grow, because sunflowers do not transplant well once established. Push each seed about an inch into the soil, water deeply, and wait. Germination happens in 7 to 10 days when soil temperatures are warm, and in June the soil is definitely warm. After that, they grow fast, really fast. Some varieties put on several inches of height per week during the peak of summer. For cut flower use, harvest sunflowers when the petals are just beginning to lift away from the center disc, not when they are already fully open. At that stage, they will continue opening in the vase and last a solid 7 to 10 days indoors. Strip the lower leaves before arranging, because sunflower foliage deteriorates quickly in water. Plant a new row every 2 weeks through the end of June, and you will have a staggered harvest that carries you well into early autumn. Flower number 3, Cosmos. These are the flowers that seem to float above the garden on delicate thread-like stems, but do not let their fragile appearance fool you. Cosmos are some of the toughest, most heat-tolerant summer flowers you can grow, and they absolutely thrive when direct sown in June. The seeds are large and easy to handle, which makes them satisfying to plant, even if your hands are not as steady as they used to be. Scatter them onto prepared soil, press them in lightly, water, and step back. Germination takes about a week. The seedlings grow quickly into feathery plants that reach 3 to 5 feet tall, depending on the variety. Blooms begin appearing 60 to 70 days after planting, and from that point on, cosmos do not stop flowering until frost knocks them down. The more you cut, the more buds the plants produce.
For the best cut flower varieties, look for Cosmos bipinnatus types like Sensation, Purity, or the Double Click series. They come in white, pink, deep magenta, and soft blush tones that mix beautifully in arrangements. Cosmos actually prefer soil that is not too rich, too much nitrogen, and the plants grow tall and leafy with very few flowers. Give them full sun, modest water, and resist the urge to fertilize. Stake them lightly if you live somewhere windy because their tall, slender stems can topple in storms. One patch of Cosmos planted now will give you more bouquets than you know what to do with by mid-autumn.
Flower number 4, marigolds. Marigolds are so common in American gardens that they are almost invisible. But the tall African marigolds varieties deserve a place in any cut flower garden, especially one being planned in June. These are not the short, compact bedding marigolds that line sidewalks and parking lot planters. Cutting varieties like crackerjack or giant orange grow 3 to 4 feet tall with sturdy stems and blooms the size of golf balls, sometimes larger. They can be direct sown in June or transplanted as inexpensive starts from any garden center. They grow fast in the heat, which is exactly what you want from summer flowers planted this late. Blooms appear in 60 to 70 days, and the colors, deep gold, bright orange, warm yellow, bring a richness to arrangements that cooler pastels cannot match. Marigolds also have a practical benefit that goes beyond the vase. Their roots exude a compound that helps suppress certain soil nematodes, so planting them among your vegetables serves double duty. For cutting, harvest marigolds when the blooms are about 3/4 open. They will continue opening in the vase and last up to a week. The foliage has a distinct scent that some people love and some do not. If you are in the latter camp, simply strip the leaves before arranging. The blooms themselves are virtually scentless once in water. Now, I want to pause and check in with you. Of the 4 flowers we have covered so far, zinnias, sunflowers, cosmos, and marigolds, which one are you most likely to try this June? Tell me in the comments. And if you have grown any of them before, share a tip that worked for you. Your experience might help a fellow gardener who is planting these for the first time. Flower number 5, Celosia. If you want a cut flower that stops people in their tracks and makes them ask, "What is that?" Celosia is the answer. These are the flowers that look like velvet brains or feathery plumes or ruffled coral formations, depending on the type. They are heat-loving annuals that thrive when planted in June because they genuinely enjoy the kind of warm soil and humid air that makes other plants sulk. Celosia can be direct sown, but the seeds are tiny and slow to germinate in cool conditions. In June, when soil temperatures are consistently above 65 degrees, germination speeds up considerably. You can also find Celosia starts at garden centers this time of year, which gives you a head start. Once in the ground, Celosia grows steadily and begins producing its unusual blooms in 60 to 75 days. The crested types, often called coxcomb, form dense, wavy heads that can reach 6 inches across. The plume types send up feathery spires in shades of red, orange, yellow, pink, and deep burgundy. Both types are exceptional cut flowers that last up to 2 weeks in the vase, which is nearly unheard of for summer flowers. They also dry perfectly. If you hang a bunch of Celosia upside down in a dark closet for a few weeks, the blooms hold their color and shape indefinitely, giving you arrangements that last through winter.
For garden planting, give Celosia full sun and consistent moisture. They do not like to dry out completely. Space them about 8 to 10 inches apart and avoid wetting the foliage when you water. Flower number 6, Tithonia, also known as Mexican sunflower. This is the flower for anyone who has a hot, sunny spot where nothing else seems to thrive. Tithonia is native to Mexico and Central America, which means it is genetically programmed to handle the kind of intense summer heat that makes other cut flowers wilt by noon. The plants grow tall, often reaching 5 to 6 feet, with velvety stems and brilliant orange-red flowers that glow against the green foliage. Butterflies and hummingbirds are drawn to them from miles away, so your cut flower patch doubles as a pollinator destination. Direct sow Tithonia seeds in June by pressing them into the soil and keeping the area moist until germination, which takes about a week. Once the seedlings are up and growing, you can ease off on the water. Established Tithonia is remarkably drought tolerant. Blooms begin 70 to 80 days after planting, which puts first harvest in mid to late August. The flowers are daisy-like with a raised center, and they add a fiery warmth to arrangements that cooler-colored flowers cannot provide. For cutting, harvest Tithonia when the blooms are just opening. The stems can be a bit coarse, so use sharp pruners. They last about a week in the vase. Stake these plants early because they grow tall, and a summer thunderstorm can knock them flat if they are unsupported. One row of Tithonia along the back of a cutting bed provides structure, color, and pollinator activity for the entire late summer season. Flower number 7, Gomphrena, commonly called globe amaranth. I saved this one for last because it is probably the least familiar flower on this list, and it deserves far more recognition than it gets. Gomphrena produces clover-like blooms on slender upright stems, and the flowers come in shades of purple, pink, red, white, and a soft orange that looks like sherbet. The plants are compact, usually about 18 to 24 inches tall, which makes them perfect for the front of a cutting bed or tucked into containers on a sunny patio.
What makes Gomphrena truly special as a June-planted cut flower is its relationship with heat. It does not merely tolerate hot weather, it thrives in it.
While other summer flowers slow down during a heat wave, Gomphrena keeps right on blooming. Direct sow the seeds in June or pick up inexpensive starts at a garden center. Space them about 8 inches apart. Blooms begin in 60 to 70 days and continue without pause until the first frost. In the vase, Gomphrena lasts a solid week to 10 days. It also dries perfectly, retaining its color for months.
You can harvest stems at peak bloom, hang them in small bunches, and use them in dried arrangements through the winter. For fresh cutting, harvest Gomphrena when the flower heads are fully colored and firm to the touch. Strip the lower leaves, which tend to be a bit coarse, and group the stems in small clusters within a larger arrangement for texture and pops of saturated color. If you have never grown Gomphrena before, this June is the time to try it. There you have it, 7 cut flowers, and every single one of them can go into the ground this month. June is not the end of garden planting season, it is the beginning of the summer flower harvest, and the only thing standing between you and a vase full of homegrown blooms is a packet of seeds and an hour in the garden this weekend. I want to hear from you. Which of these 7 are you going to plant, and have you ever grown any of them this late in the season before? Drop that in the comments along with your growing zone so other gardeners can see what works where. If you want more practical planting guidance that meets you where you are in the season, subscribe to Grow Simple and stick around. Until next time, get those seeds in the ground and enjoy watching them rise.